The Interview Show would like to thank Cards Against Humanity, Lifeway Foods, It Takes Guts, Field Notes, vintage-styled, made-in-the-USA pocket notebooks at 401 North Racine in Chicago or fieldnotesbrand.com, and Lagunitas. Beer speaks, people mumble, except on The Interview Show.
I want to start with a somewhat non-opera question, and that is this. I was, over the last few weeks, listening to as much as I could, and I listened to a number of operas, and then I came across an album that I did not know about called Dark Hope that you recorded. And that was covers of indie rock songs, pop songs, In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. And when I first started to listen, I thought, okay, how is this going to work? Is this going to sound like an opera singer? And it was like your voice was completely transformed. I could tell it was you, but I thought first, how does she do that? How can you have so many disparate type of voices? And it occurred to me that the voice is an instrument and you can tune it the way you want to.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I didn't want to sound like an opera singer on that album. And, you know, if you hear me talk, you don't hear sort of a, hello, yes. I'm a soprano.
Can you do the rest of the interview like that?
I could, yes. It'd be much better for my voice, too. But I just, because then you're speaking where you sing a little bit more.
And how is that different than speaking?
Well, speaking, you know, I sort of speak, I do a lot of vocal fry, and it's kind of low, and
vocal fry?
Yeah, that's,
what does that mean?
It's a lot of people do, you all do vocal fry, right?
Yeah. But we don't do what you do, otherwise.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well,
we all got the vocal fry down.
Well, and it's a long way from to you know, that takes some time.
Do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it's so, but I'm better now. I'm more relaxed about it.
Well, let's talk about how you got into music and opera, and both your parents were music teachers.
Yes.
And I was reading your memoir, which I guess you call a memoir of your voice, and one of the things that kept coming up was that there were people who pushed you in the right way. Your parents pushed you in the right way.
Yes.
You had teachers in college, and now that you have, who's pushing you now? And do you need that now?
No. I need people actually who are smart enough to say you don't need to do. You're doing too much. So it's almost sort of like finding the balance.
Nobody told you not to do this show.
There was some discussion. No. This is fabulous. I love it. Any room that has lights on the ceiling is my kind of room.
All through the year. Like, why take them down? Christmas was good.
Yeah, I love it. No, but you know, I do a lot now. But yeah, I was a very shy, reserved child, so it was not obvious that I would be a performer.
Yeah. Those
were skills I had to sort of learn.
You talk about the difference between pleasing and expressing. So you wanted to please people early on,
yes.
But what is the difference, and how did it change to, it's about expressing who I am?
Exactly. Well, it was sort of mid-20s crisis.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of what do I want for lunch as opposed to what should I have? You know, and a lot of us kind of go through these periods, especially young women in my generation were really very much good girls and trying to do the right thing and, you know, be a good student and just don't want to displease anybody. And now I almost have no filter now. You know, I just say what I think most of the time. It works much better.
Are you the oldest child in your family?
I am. Are you?
Yes.
Ah.
And I have an oldest child, also a youngest child, and he is very much the, what are the rules?
Yes.
And if I want to misbehave, Daddy, I'm thinking about misbehaving. Can I? No, son, you cannot.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's fine. Thanks.
When older children are afraid to you know, they're not going to be the ones to jump off the bridge, you know, and you know, or go ski fast. More reticent, sort of a little bit more fearful. Have you seen that?
Yes, that's absolutely the truth.
I don't know.
But we're proof right here.
See?
But in our 20s,
But
we
you're
had the
doing
crisis.
a show. No net. I don't see any notes. I don't see anything. You're doing fabulously, and you're funny.
Thank you. Let's get back to opera. Now, I know what opera does for an audience, I think, or I know what it does for me. What does it do for you? Is it the same? I guess you don't know what it does for me, but...
Well, it's the complete art form because it has everything. It's got, the sets, costumes, it's got the orchestra, singing, dance, and every visual possible thing. So when it's great, it's off the charts. It's incredible. So when I get thrilled, I cry because it's very emotional, it's cathartic, and it's powerful.
What about the idea that you are often, not always, but often performing music that generations and generations have performed? That has to be an incredible feeling, like that these people have felt and been in the same shoes I'm in.
Yeah, but that's scary because then the yardstick is high. You've got a yardstick that's historic, and there's a sort of 120 years of recorded history, but the history before that is even worse because then people go by what someone wrote.
Yeah.
Well, this was the greatest Violetta ever, and so you can't compete with that. There's no recorded legacy. So yeah, I do feel that, but I also feel like you belong to this amazing tradition. In theater, it's Shakespeare. There's such a great tradition, and you want every generation to have this experience of being exposed to this great music.
What about the new, like Bel Canto?
Oh, I loved Bel Canto. That was so exciting.
It's based on a novel.
Yes, Ann Patchett wrote a book that was extremely popular. Everybody thinks it's about me, but she used my recordings and this idea that an opera singer can galvanize this space that's been taken up by hostages and terrorists, and unfortunately, by today's standards, in some ways it seems somewhat quaint because these people are living happily together by the end of the book. It's turned into a wonderful opera, and PBS is filming it. So please check your
PBS.
Stations.
We love
yeah.
PBS.
And it's going to be very exciting.
Did Ann Patchett introduce you to your husband?
She did.
How did that?
She
did. Did you? Was
Miracles happen.
In the middle of Bel Canto? Was it before that?
So
did you get
it
to
was,
know her?
it was since then. I was feeling, we have very challenging lifestyles. I travel a lot. And I was single for a long time, and I just thought, all right, it's never going to happen. So she felt sorry for me, and, Renee's bummed, she had a friend in Washington do my chart.
Wait. You like an astrological?
Like an astrological chart.
Really?
I was like, yeah, thank you. I sent her a CD.
Yeah.
And my now husband walked into her kitchen and said, women are crazy. I give up. Because he had been dating really some interesting people, and he looked at the CD and said, I'd go out with her, but otherwise I'm done. And she said, I might be able to make that happen.
What does the chart have to do with it?
It's just how I met. It was Ann's friend.
Okay.
So it was our mutual friend.
Oh, it was that person's
yes,
pitching.
Yes. Peg was the one. Yeah.
But there had nothing to do with
Ann.
the fact that he's a Sagittarius and you're a Gemini and.
No. He was a neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the only connection. Yes.
So I got to ask you. You obviously are a very nice person, or you're good at being a nice person on a talk show.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's boring though. I don't.
But hold on. Well, that's where I'm getting at.
Oh, okay.
There's the word diva. Diva means
yes.
just a female opera singer, I think, in the
Yes,
dictionary.
yes.
But then it obviously also has this other connotation,
You're right.
probably based on drama that had happened backstage.
Right.
So, is it boring backstage, in rehearsals, or is there really what we want, drama?
I know. See, so diva really means goddess, right?
Yeah.
So I like that part of it. I'm happy to own that piece of the definition. People's diva, right? That's sort of, it's nice. It's very nice. Don't get me wrong. So I have seen my share of temperamental behavior backstage. I have. I try to keep it in. My sort of nervous energy is not sort of throwing people's makeup on the floor and screaming and yelling, but it does happen because we get nervous. There's a lot of pressure on this one little instrument that's very individual. If it goes wrong, it's over. Tenors have it the hardest, I think.
Why?
Yeah, because when they have a bad high note, everyone knows. They crack. It just doesn't come out. When a soprano has a bad high note, it just might be a little you know, it reminds me when your mother was yelling at you when you were, you know, it's just not pretty. So, yeah. Familiar, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, my mom's here,
Your
so I
mom's
don't
here,
want to say
yes.
anything about that. My mom sounded so beautiful when she was young. Just soaring. And she sounded a lot like you actually singing.
Yes.
It was amazing. I could listen to this for hours.
But I had to yell at my kids singing. I always had to do that.
Let me
singing.
Can I hear you?
You know,
can I hear you?
Sage! You know, it was always, Sage goes to school here, so she'll love this. And she'll be so embarrassed. But I had to always sort of yell in a high voice.
How would you sing, Go to Your Room?
Well, it was more if I had to call them, you know, from the other end of the apartment, it would sort of be, girls! You know, it would sort of always have to be high. Then they could hear me, but I wasn't going to hurt myself. Because I did that once. I made the mistake of shouting at one of my children, and I had to cancel a performance.
No way.
Yeah.
So did you
Actually, I had
then
to cancel
blame
3 performances.
Wow.
I went, oh, I'll never do that again.
They should have announced that at the beginning. Due to Miss Fleming, her part will be played by... Over time, do you relate to different heroines that you've played differently?
Oh, yes, that is such a good question because, you know, first of all, 80% of what I could sing as a lyric soprano was for young women age 16 to 20, right? So that's who opera's written for. So now in HD, it's a little bit of a challenge. And there's not very much written for someone like me. So what I love now is the Marshall and Rosencavalier because she's mature, she's complicated, she's maybe even manic depressive, and you know, so she's really interesting, not the sort of ingenue victim. So I hope charging composers, please, more roles for people like me.
There are no composers here.
Yes, but
they might be watching on the television.
It's television.
Yes, there you go. If you were a composer, you could write something right now for Miss Fleming. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Renee Fleming.
Guests of the interview show stay upstairs at the Hideout, located 3.7 miles from Chicago's Magnificent Mile. Guests take our unofficial transportation partner, the CTA. This winter, stand under the heat lamps at Kimball, Logan, Ridgeland, 79th, and other great stops.
Guests on the interview show all share one thing in common. They take risks. We'd like to thank Lifeway Foods, makers of probiotic kefir, for making possible this week's It Takes Guts interview.
So I want to start out with a selfish question because I know you're a big sci-fi, big comics guy, and I'm dealing with an issue at home right now, which is, should I let my young children see the Star Wars prequels?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Why would?
Because they're so bad.
But you know, that was like sort of geared for kids.
I know, and one of them is begging, and I'm saying, no, they're bad.
No, but they have to know what bad cinema is to appreciate good cinema.
I like it. So what, you have kids, are there other bad movies that you're showing your kids then to say?
My kids watch nothing but bad movies. That's all they torment me with, is just bad movies. So yeah, we just did like a bad movie marathon. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Run it down for me.
So my son, oddly enough, he's 13 now, loved Scooby-Doo, the live action Scooby-Doo, right? When he was like 1 to about 4, that was his jam. And so oddly enough, my daughter, who was 1, she's a little monster, and I could not, my wife left town for a few days, and I was losing sleep, hair, I was losing everything, my mind. And so I just put it on a whim, you know, and she stopped for like 30 minutes, and it was like the greatest thing ever. She just fixated on this dog, and so now every time she like does something bad or she's going into a drive, like that, and she just pauses and looks around for a second, so it's like the greatest thing, but it's an awful movie.
So there's a genetic love in your family.
I had it too, though, man. You know, I all that. So Howard the Duck.
That's like the universally panned movie.
Yeah, I had it on beta.
Nobody has seen it, and nobody had beta, and yet you had.
Dude, I had that and Purple Rain on Betamax as a kid.
Purple Rain.
That was a classic, but Howard the Duck was still, you know, that was my jam back in the day. You know.
So what's new with you art-wise? There's nothing. You want some beer?
I can't drink beer anymore, man.
Why?
Gluten.
There is gluten-free beer.
I know, but it's not that great.
Oh, it's not. You love the taste of gluten.
Well, see, I don't know if like anybody's noticed, but I'm 6'8", right?
Yeah.
Kind of tall. It takes a lot to get like a buzz.
Can you have wine?
I can, but wine puts me out.
Yeah.
You know, I've gone to those like fancy dinner parties.
What about home?
Nah, that's why I kind of got to draw. I'm scared.
Talking about fancy parties. So you had a birthday party a few years ago that I was lucky enough to go to, along with like 10,000 other people. And Q-Tip DJ'd.
He did.
How? Why?
Because that's like, he was the man. I grew up on Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, no, I know why you want him. I would want him to DJ my party as well. But my kids DJ my party.
Did they? How did they do a good job?
We played the same songs. I think Q-Tip did.
No, I mean, you know, it's the barter system and it works. You know, I do some art from time to time. I'm like, hey, DJ my party, I might throw you a piece.
Yeah.
So
what's the best party you've been to?
Oh, that's hard, man. I've been to quite a few good ones. I don't know, it's too many to mention. Mine was awesome though.
That was pretty good. It was great. It was great.
So I was thinking about having another one, but then my wedding took the money for that party, and then after that, my kids just take all the other money. So yeah, I think the party.
So since getting married and since having a baby, you used to keep hours that were insane. Can you still do that, or is it I'm going into the studio from 9 to 5?
So it's funny now because now I have to. What I do is I'm up in the morning with the little monster, and then once the nanny comes at about 10. I'm off to the studio, back home about 5, and then once she finally goes down, I'm back to the studio until about 3 or 4.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that when you're doing your best work?
Yeah, because like my employees aren't there, nobody's bugging me, nobody's asking any stupid questions. You know, so it's
what
like
are you saying?
I can zone out. I mean, you get asked a lot of stupid. Oh, I can't cuss. You know. But yeah, you know, it happens.
This may be a stupid question, but when you are confronted with a blank canvas, is that scary, exciting, a mixture of both? Does it fill you with dread or happiness?
I think for all artists, it's a little daunting. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you have to figure your way through it. For me, what I always love is chaos. So like sort of, you know, having that puzzle, all the pieces laid out and then fitting them together. So whenever there's a blank canvas, I tend to like muck it up as fast as I can. Even if I'm not about to paint it at all, I just don't like that blankness staring back at me, like following me as I'm walking around my studio. So I'll put a line on it here or there and then, you know, slowly start to work into it.
Now, one of your, I guess, your signature series is Flyboy. And so that Flyboy, correct me if I'm wrong, is inspired somewhat by the Tuskegee Airmen. But explain it, because I'm going to get it wrong. It's that meets modern day comic book meets young black boy in the city.
I mean, I've loved comics, cartoons, that whole thing. But the problem I always had was that there was like a lack of representation for people of color, right? Like, I went to Ogden Elementary. All my friends that went to Ogden were everything under the rainbow. You know what I mean? I had friends from Egypt, friends from Peru, you know, France, all over the world. But when I watched cartoons or read comics, it was sort of the same, you know, archetype, hero, character, etc. So I wanted something that sort of looked and felt like me and the people that I know. And so, and then also to come from someone of color. Like all the Marvel heroes were created by like Jewish writers that was their interpretation of what black looked, sounded, and acted like. And also too, I wanted something that could exist and have a historical context, you know, because it's high art, so it can't just be like fluff and it can't. So yeah, I kind of landed on Tuskegee Airmen because I thought what they sort of endured and to live in that time in their lives and to be gifted and given such an enormous task was phenomenal, and it's very, very heroic. So I landed there and then sort of evolved it from there.
Is there a quest on your part? Because if you think about art, any art, but especially right now, art in the city of Chicago. If you think about, let's take music. You think about the drill scene, or you think about Chance the Rapper. And what is the story of Chicago, or the story of urban life that you're trying to tell through Flyboy or other works that you do?
I don't know if I'm necessarily trying to tell the story of urban life. I hate the word urban.
Sorry.
No worries. You didn't know.
Well, we Jewish people, as you mentioned, do not have a complete understanding of the Black experience.
I mean, there are a lot of parallels, man.
There are
a lot of parallels. But no, I think that for me, it's just it's the human experience. I think that I want to talk and express sort of what it is to sort of go through everything, full emotion, from love to heartbreak to I don't want to deal with this stuff today, or just I want it to be very relatable to a wide group and a wider audience. I don't want to sort of pigeonhole myself and it's coming from a Black man, and granted, some of the narratives will be a little heavier handed and might directly talk to something that happened, but also at the same time, the thing that I love about what I do and why I do it is I get to. It's almost like writing a comic strip, right? Something that would appear in the Sun-Times or the Trib, where if I'm having a bad day, or even if we're talking politics, I can say that through these characters, and they're a conduit for me.
What do you think about the spray paint can laws in the city?
It makes my job a little hard sometimes. I mean, I still use spray paint.
Do you need some? I'm out in the suburbs.
You got one? I know who to call now.
That could be your hookup, yeah.
But no, I think, you know what, man, maybe this is the older, more responsible Hebru Brantley, but I think it's good because, when you go into certain cities and you just see, well, also too, I'm a property owner, right? And so I have these little knuckleheads that tag my door all the damn time.
But wasn't that you once?
No, but I never touched anybody's property.
Okay.
Unless it was sort of just old, vacant, we would go into old factories, do stuff like that. I never.
Not somebody's home.
No, no. I mean, I was raised a little bit better than that. But yeah, I've got these little knuckleheads, and I feel like my father. I just want to catch one of them so bad.
How great would that be?
Oh my God.
When you catch one, and then you bring him into your studio and say, "This is how it's done."
I don't know if I do all that.
No. It's just my fantasy.
Artist Hebru Brantley.
That'd be a great headline. I'll let you get back to Scooby.
Yeah, man, Scooby and painting. All right.
Are you bringing Scooby into your work?
No.
Don't clap yet.
No.
He's not. He won't let him in.
No.
The Nightmare series.
No. No Scooby.
All right.
Maybe Velma or Shaggy, and we'll talk about that.
Sounds good. Hebru Brantley, everyone.
I didn't have a cell phone until I remember getting a cell phone in high school. I think about junior year of high school I got a cell phone. And I couldn't text.
32.
Okay.
Why couldn't you text? Do you want to be able to text?
My dad didn't get that part of the phone.
Oh, the feature.
It was that I had a little game, and then I could call my mom and my dad. That was pretty much it. So just to tell them, hey,
I'm playing the game.
Yeah, I'm playing the not right now, but after.
The Interview Show would like to thank Cards Against Humanity, Lifeway Foods, It Takes Guts, Field Notes, vintage-styled, made-in-the-USA pocket notebooks at 401 North Racine in Chicago, or fieldnotesbrand.com, and Lagunitas. Beer speaks, people mumble, except on The Interview Show.